In the heart of a magnificent empire, a shining palace stood among the stars. This palace was home to Princess Ilara, a gentle soul known for her kind heart and clear mind. Every morning, as the light of a new day touched the marble walls, Ilara rose to prepare for her royal duties. Although admired by many and loved by her people, she often felt a deep loneliness that no one around her could truly understand. Princess Ilara was born into a life of honor and responsibility. Her parents, the wise King Alaric and the gracious Queen Seraphine, taught her the values of kindness, honesty, and duty. From an early age, she learned that her life was meant to serve not only her family, but all the people of her vast empire. Yet, as the years passed, and she grew into a thoughtful young woman, Ilara began to sense that her destiny was not limited to her royal responsibilities. Deep within her heart, she longed for a friend who would see her true self rather than just a title or a crown. Many suitors traveled from distant planets to seek her hand in marriage. They arrived in grand, gleaming ships and brought lavish gifts in the hope of winning her favor. These suitors came from worlds known for their rich traditions and advanced technology. They carried promises of power, wealth, and a life of luxury. However, despite the splendor of their gestures, Ilara listened carefully and then politely refused each proposal. She believed that true love could not be forced or bought with treasures. It had to grow naturally through trust, understanding, and genuine care. The palace itself was a place of great beauty. Its gardens were filled with blooming flowers of every color, and the halls echoed with soft music during celebrations and feasts. Yet beneath the laughter and bright decorations lay a quiet solitude. Behind the scenes of grand ceremonies and festive gatherings, the princess often felt isolated. The crown she wore was a symbol of honor and duty, but it was also a constant reminder of the personal sacrifices she had made. Each refusal to the eager suitors added to the weight on her heart, making her wonder if she would ever find someone who truly understood her. Every evening, after her official duties were completed, Princess Ilara sought solace on a small, secluded balcony that overlooked the endless night sky. There, under the gentle glow of distant stars, she allowed herself to dream of a future filled with simple joys and heartfelt connections. In those quiet moments, she imagined a partner who was not defined by wealth or power, but by the purity of their spirit, a person who would share in both the burdens and the joys of life. Her dreams were gentle and sincere, as soft as the night air that surrounded her. Despite the many visits from well-known suitors, none of their extravagant words or gifts could fill the emptiness inside her. Each ceremonial visit, though beautiful and respectful, reminded her of the gap between her public role and her private desires. She carefully guarded her true feelings, hidden behind a calm smile and measured words. Ilara often spent long hours in the palace library, reading old texts and learning about the heroes of her land. In those quiet moments with her favorite books, she found comfort and a reminder that great stories sometimes began with loneliness and grew into something extraordinary. One bright morning, as the first rays of sunlight filtered softly through the stained glass windows, a new suitor arrived at the palace. Unlike the others, this visitor did not come with a show of grandeur. His ship was small and unadorned, a humble vessel that spoke of simplicity rather than wealth. He hailed from a planet known for its modest way of life. His eyes held a spark of honest curiosity, and his gentle manner made him seem very different from the usual crowd of admirers. The new suitor spoke in a calm, sincere voice. He told Princess Ilara about the simple joys of his everyday life and the beauty he found in small moments, a quiet sunset, a kind word, the laughter of friends. He did not offer grand gifts or promises of wealth. Instead, he offered his time and a clear desire to understand her world. As he spoke, Ilara felt a stirring in her heart that she had not felt in many long years. His kind words, free of pomp or pretense, touched something deep inside her. Even so, the princess remained cautious. She understood well that the role of a princess came with great duty and high expectations. With a soft smile and a graceful nod, She thanked the visitor for his honest words and promised herself that she would remember the simple truth he shared. In that brief encounter, a small seed of hope was planted within her, a hope that perhaps one day, love might find its way through the heavy obligations of her life. For the rest of the day, Princess Ilara returned to her duties with a renewed spirit. She met with advisors, listened to the needs of her people, and worked hard to bring progress and comfort to her realm. Yet, even amid the busy hum of palace life, the memory of the humble visitor lingered in her mind like a gentle melody. Standing on her quiet balcony later that night, as the stars shimmered above, she allowed herself to dream once more. In her heart, she knew that while the lonely crown weighed heavy upon her, there was still a possibility for true, sincere love to one day lift that burden and light her world with hope. Mission would lead him to the edge of the universe, where he would encounter a princess whose quiet strength and beauty would remain in his thoughts long after his ship took off again. His starship, the Endeavor was modest compared to the massive vessels he had seen falling under the banners of more powerful empires. However, for Jonathan, it was a reliable companion on countless journeys through space. Jonathan had been a part of many missions, visiting alien planets, brokering peaceful treaties, and answering the call for help when crises arose. Although his position in the crew was that of a captain, he often preferred the simpler, quieter aspects of exploration to the pomp and circumstance that came with being a leader. He cared deeply for the people and species he met, always making an effort to understand their cultures and way of life. It was during one such mission, while navigating through the far outer regions of known space, that the Endeavor accidentally crossed into the territory of the Stellar Empire. As they entered this peaceful but distant area, still unexplored by many, the ship's sensors picked up a faint signal from the capital planet. The signal indicated a delicate diplomatic matter regarding possible trade agreements, and Jonathan, ever the optimist, took it upon himself to investigate. To his surprise, the space station that caught their signal was located just outside the gates of a glittering city, a city where the palace of Princess Ilara stood at its heart. Jonathan had read enough about the Stellar Empire to know that Princess Ilara was without equal when it came to intellect, leadership, and political affairs. Her wisdom had earned her a reputation far beyond her home planet. However, reading about her was one thing. Meeting her in person would turn out to be entirely different. As the Endeavor arrived in orbit, Jonathan didn't expect too much drama, just a peaceful landing, an introduction to the princess, and perhaps some diplomatic talks about trade agreements. He thought it would be another run-of-the-mill event, but upon his arrival, something about the calm aura of the empire intrigued him. The palace from afar was majestic, encased in crystal-like spires and surrounded by sprawling gardens. Its beauty was incomprehensible. Jonathan had studied stars and planets for years, but there was something deeply captivating about the place. Little did he know, his arrival would change the course of both his life and the princess's. The first time Jonathan laid eyes on Princess Ilara, he was struck by her grace and composure. Unlike the rulers he had met in the past, or even the distant aristocrats trying to sway her hand, Ilara carried a quiet confidence that outshone all others. She possessed a certain tranquility, a grace that didn't need adornment, a beauty unmarked by vanity. Their first meeting was brief. He had been escorted through grand hallways, flanked by guards and attendants until they arrived in a lush, private room where Ilara waited. His first impression was one of warmth. Her calm voice and steady gaze made him feel comfortable despite the looming importance of the visit. "Captain Reeves, I find it rare for humans to venture so far into my empire. What brings you here?" she asked, her eyes scanning him briefly before returning to the matter at hand. "Trade." But Jonathan couldn't help but notice the sadness veiled behind her calm demeanor, and he wondered what burden weighed on her heart. "I believe our meeting is fate, Princess," Jonathan said diplomatically, trying to maintain the formality expected of a foreign diplomat. "I brought my ship to explore the outer limits of the galaxy. Our people seek knowledge, and this contact represents a meaningful step toward cooperation." The princess nodded, her composed expression remaining unchanged as she listened intently. But deep down, Jonathan sensed something mysterious beneath the surface. Her stoic demeanor didn't seem like mere royal duty. It struck him as something more. After a polite exchange of words regarding the trade agreement, Jonathan was dismissed to await further instructions. His meeting with Ilara had been brief, but in that short time, he was drawn to her aura, a magnetic pull he couldn't explain. Back in his quarters aboard the Endeavour Asterisk, Jonathan found it difficult to concentrate. He couldn't stop thinking of her. It wasn't just her beauty that left an impact. Something about her spirit intrigued him, a certain quiet strength that masked deeper, unspoken thoughts. She was used to receiving proposals from powerful suitors, yet her calm yet determined rejection of them painted a portrait of a woman who carried a different kind of power. As Jonathan spent more time on the planet, he attended social functions, met other important dignitaries, and engaged in formal discussions. But every time he overheard mention of the princess, he sensed a longing in her heart too. Perhaps it was her desire for something real that made her stand out. On his last evening on the planet, as the emerald night sky sparkled with distant stars, Jonathan returned to the palace for a final diplomatic dinner. Ilara was there, accompanied by members of her court. This time, Jonathan was more relaxed. Out of the formality of business, he was free to be himself. Their conversations were less about politics and more about the world outside their star systems. They spoke of galaxies, stars, and the mysteries of life that neither had been able to unravel. To his surprise, the princess asked him about his home, Earth. She seemed fascinated by the simplicity of human life, the complexities of love, loss, and exploration. For Jonathan, it was strange. Those words were often easy for him to take for granted. But with Ilara, it felt like they were two souls sharing something much deeper than mere stories. As the meal came to an end, Ilara spoke softly. "It is rare that someone does not seek power or riches here. What you offer is something far beyond wealth, a refreshing honesty." Jonathan smiled softly, humbled by her words. In that moment, he knew that this was not just about diplomacy, but something else, something more significant. From the quiet bond they were forging, Jonathan could sense that their futures, despite their vast differences, were now intertwined. The night did not end with fanfare, yet something had begun. Something unexpected, yet undeniable, had stirred between them. The beginning of a deep connection that neither one of them understood yet, but which would grow stronger with time. For 26 seconds. Part 2. A Human Among the Stars. Captain Jonathan Reeves was a brave and kind explorer. He had spent many years traveling in space on his small starship, the Nova Dreamer. His crew, a group of skilled and friendly people, shared his dream of discovering new worlds and making true connections among the stars. They believed that every planet had a story to tell, and that each journey could bring hope to humankind. One clear morning, as the Nova Dreamer sailed past shimmering nebula and twinkling stars, the crew picked up a gentle signal coming from an unknown star system. The signal was warm and inviting, like a soft call from a distant friend. With a mix of excitement and calm determination, Captain Reeves ordered his crew to set a course toward the source. The journey was not long, and soon the ship entered a system filled with a bright, glowing star and several peaceful planets. Their destination was a planet unlike any other they had seen before. It was a world of rolling green fields, clear blue skies, and quiet, welcoming cities. The planet's surface was dotted with small lakes that mirrored the soft light of its star. Local ships and small vehicles moved slowly along clean roads, and the people looked up with friendly smiles at the passing visitors from space. This, they later learned, was the realm of Princess Ilara, a land known for its harmony and gentle beauty. At the main spaceport, Captain Reeves met Ambassador Talon, a warm and courteous guide who would show him around. Talon was proud of his people and spoke with quiet passion about their history and values. He explained that Princess Ilara was not like the many rulers found in other star systems. Instead of seeking power or riches, she cared deeply for her people. Over the years, she had turned away many lavish suitors who came with promises of wealth and control. Instead, her heart sought honesty, kindness, and the courage to face challenges with hope. As the ambassador led him through the busy spaceport, Captain Reeves took in every detail. The architecture was simple yet elegant, built with natural stones and glass that caught the sunlight just right. People moved about with a calm purpose, and the atmosphere felt both respectful and warm. Reeves could sense that here, duty and love went hand in hand. He thought about his own home, Earth, where people often felt lost among many voices. Here, the people seemed to find comfort in their shared dreams and simple ways of life. In the days that followed, Captain Reeves and his crew spent much time exploring the planet. They visited small towns, listened to local music, and shared meals with families who welcomed them as honored guests. Everywhere they went, the human visitors learned more about the values that made this world special. The locals spoke of Princess Ilara with reverence, describing her as a kind leader who always put her people first. They told stories of her quiet walks in the palace gardens, of how she would spend long evenings listening to the tales of elders, and how she always wore a gentle smile, even in the face of great challenges. The crew of the Nova Dreamer also discovered that life on this planet was filled with simple pleasures. At a modest market in a small town, Reeves saw vendors selling fresh fruits and handmade crafts. Children ran along the streets, laughing under the watchful eyes of their elders. The explorer marveled at how different life here was from the busy, often chaotic life he knew from Earth. He felt a deep respect for the way the people valued nature, peace, and honest work. Finally, the day came when Captain Reeves was invited to meet Princess Ilara in person. The royal palace was a grand but welcoming building, built with smooth stones that shone in the daylight. Tall columns lined the entrance, and beautiful gardens surrounded the building with bright flowers and gentle water fountains. Reeves felt a mixture of nervousness and hope as he stepped into the palace grounds. He was a simple human from Earth, and he wondered if his humble ways could ever touch the heart of a princess who had seen so much of the universe. Inside the palace, the corridors were quiet and full of history. Soft light filtered through large windows, and paintings of past rulers looked down kindly upon the visitors. The royal attendants guided Captain Reeves to a spacious hall, where Princess Ilara waited. She sat gracefully on a carved chair, her eyes calm and inviting. When their eyes met, a silent understanding passed between them. Reeves spoke in plain and honest words about his journey, the dreams that had led him so far from home, and the hope that he carried for making true friends among the stars. His words were simple, but they carried the weight of his experiences and the sincerity of his heart. Princess Ilara listened with deep attention. Her expression remained kind and thoughtful as she considered his story. After he finished speaking, she offered a gentle nod and thanked him for coming. In that moment, it was clear to both that this meeting was more than a mere formality. It was the start of something new. Captain Reeves left the palace that day with a quiet smile and a growing hope. He felt that in this distant land, his simple nature might be valued, and that his journey had taken an important turn. Later that evening, as Captain Reeves walked slowly back to the Nova Dreamer under the soft glow of distant stars, he thought about all he had seen and felt. The night sky, vast and full of possibilities, whispered promises of new beginnings. Though far from Earth, he realized that the search for truth and kindness was a journey that spanned the entire galaxy. And in that peaceful moment, as he looked at the endless expanse above, Captain Reeves knew that his adventure was just beginning. A journey that would bring light to both his own heart and to the world he had come to admire. After the initial meetings and formal introductions, a new chapter began for both Princess Ilara and Captain Jonathan Reeves. In the days that followed, they found themselves drawn together by a shared desire to understand each other's worlds. Despite coming from very different cultures, both believed that truth and kindness could bridge any gap. Each morning, as the soft light of dawn filled the palace gardens, Ilara would meet Reeves in a quiet corner among the flowering shrubs. There, beneath a sky slowly brightening with promise, they started with simple greetings and gradually moved on to sharing details of their lives. Captain Reeves spoke of Earth, his childhood in small towns, and the challenges he faced growing up with little but hope. He described the value of hard work, community, and the honest smile of a neighbor. His words carried a warmth that reached beyond his humble beginnings. Princess Ilara listened carefully. She explained her life in the palace, where every moment was steeped in tradition and duty. From a young age, she had been taught to serve her people with a sense of grace and responsibility. Yet, she confessed that in the quiet moments of the night, when the palace was hushed and the stars shone brightly, she wondered about life beyond the rules that bound her. The more she learned about Reeves, the more she saw a kindred spirit, a person who, despite the weight of his own responsibilities, still cherished simple truths and moments of genuine connection. As their days together grew longer, so did their conversations. They began to discuss the art of storytelling. Reeves told Ilara about the many folk tales and legends from Earth, stories of heroes who faced great odds with courage and honesty. In return, Ilara shared tales of her ancestors and the ancient wisdom of her people. They discovered that both cultures, though far apart in space and tradition, celebrated similar virtues: bravery, compassion, and the search for truth. In these shared stories, the two began to see that their differences were not obstacles but opportunities to learn and grow. One afternoon, the pair walked through a lush orchard outside the palace. The trees, heavy with ripe fruit, stood as symbols of abundance and hope. Reeves pointed out how on Earth, farmers would gather in similar orchards to celebrate the harvest. Ilara listened, fascinated by the simple pleasures of life on another world. In turn, she explained how every season in her kingdom was celebrated with festivals and songs that honored the natural cycle of life. Their exchange turned into a gentle discussion about the beauty of nature and the small moments that brought joy to everyday life. Their conversations also touched upon the burdens of leadership. Reeves, although not a ruler, had learned that every decision carried a weight. He shared the challenges of command, the need to care for his crew, to make choices that affected many lives, and to remain true to his values, even in the face of adversity. Ilara nodded in understanding. As a princess, she carried not only the hopes of her people, but also the traditions and expectations of generations past. Yet, she found comfort in realizing that despite the differences in their roles, they both felt the same heavy responsibility of guiding others and nurturing hope. In these moments of honest dialogue, the initial formality that had once separated them slowly melted away. They started to see one another as more than just a princess and an explorer. Reeves discovered that behind Ilara's calm exterior lay a person full of dreams and gentle doubts, and Ilara saw that Reeves, with his unassuming smile and heartfelt stories, was someone who valued truth over pomp. Their mutual respect grew with each shared laugh, each pause of comfortable silence, and each thoughtful remark about the world they wished to build. Even the palace staff began to notice the subtle change in the atmosphere. Servants whispered that the princess's eyes shone with a new light whenever she recalled a moment spent with the human captain. In the evenings, when the palace halls were quiet, Ilara would often be seen walking slowly along the corridors, her mind replaying the conversations that had become so precious to her. For Reeves, the moments with Ilara were a reminder that even in a vast universe, one could find friendship and hope in unexpected places. During one long afternoon, as rain gently tapped on the palace windows, they took refuge in a sunlit conservatory filled with rare plants from many worlds. The sound of raindrops created a soft background rhythm as they continued their conversation. Reeves asked Ilara about the old songs sung by her people, and she, in turn, expressed a desire to know more about the simple melodies of Earth. With a shared smile, they decided that language, like music, could be a bridge between worlds. Over the following days, they spent time teaching each other songs and words from their respective cultures. In these moments, the boundaries of distance and difference blurred, replaced by the joy of discovery and mutual understanding. By the time the rain had stopped and the sun broke through the clouds, both Princess Ilara and Captain Reeves felt that they had reached a new stage in their relationship. Their hearts had begun to align, each beat echoing the other's hopes. It became clear to both that while they came from worlds apart, their minds and spirits were slowly coming together through the simple acts of sharing, listening, and caring. In that quiet conservatory, surrounded by the gentle hum of life, the seeds of a lasting bond were sown, a bond that promised to grow into something even more meaningful in the days ahead. Thus, as the chapter of discovery continued, the two realized that the journey of understanding was just as important as the destination. They had found that the true measure of a person was not in their title or their background, but in the light they shared with others. And in that shared light, a new future began to take shape, a future where different worlds might come together in harmony, guided by the shared dreams of hearts aligned. Reeves began to face its first real test when an unexpected crisis occurred. It was a warm, golden afternoon when the news reached the palace. A massive starship, unlike any the Empire had seen, was approaching their system. It was a dark, ominous ship, its sleek hull glinting under the light of the nearby star. The ship's design was foreign, and there was no sign of communication from the crew aboard. Fear spread like wildfire across the kingdom. Princess Ilara immediately called for a council. Despite her calm demeanor, her heart was filled with an unsettling dread. She summoned her trusted advisors, who quickly gathered in the grand hall. Among them was Ambassador Talon, who appeared troubled by the sight of the approaching ship. "We have never seen anything like it," he said, his voice tense with anxiety. "It may be a threat from a far corner of the galaxy, a race with no regard for peaceful life." Ilara sat silently, her fingers lightly resting on the arm of her chair. She had known that peace could not last forever, but she had always hoped it might. She turned to Captain Reeves, who had been quietly observing the scene. "Do you believe it's an attack?" she asked, her voice steady but with a hint of worry. Reeves looked out of the window towards the vast expanse of space, his eyes narrowing as he thought. His crew, too, had received the same unsettling signal. There was a chance this ship was not a threat, but he knew it was just as likely to be a dangerous situation. "We don't know for sure," he said, his tone calm but firm. "But we need to act quickly. I have training and experience with first contact situations. I will help guide everyone through this." Together, Ilara and Reeves led a team from the palace to the edge of the atmosphere. The air was thick with uncertainty, but there was something strangely comforting about the alliance that had formed between them in such a short time. This crisis was not a moment to hesitate. It was a time for decisive action. As they approached the ship, Ilara turned to her trusted lieutenant, Captain Thylia, to give orders for the defense system's readiness. The technology of the princess's kingdom was formidable, yet it was more than that. The unity of their people meant so much more. Still, these few moments were among those where a single misstep could change everything. As they awaited the arrival of the mysterious ship, Ilara and Reeves shared a quiet moment amidst the flurry of activity. He could see the weight of her worries in her eyes, the same concerns he had once felt as captain of his own ship in the face of unknown dangers. Yet despite the fear, there was something new growing between them. Trust. He placed a reassuring hand on her arm and gave her a warm smile. "No matter what happens," Jonathan said softly, "we will face it together. You have nothing to fear from me." Ilara's lips curved in a gentle smile, a breath of relief escaping her. There was truth in his words. She had seen it in the way he led his people, even in their brief time together. They had already learned how to depend on one another in ways that would have seemed impossible only days before. As the strange starship grew closer, a calm plan emerged. General Varen, the military leader of the kingdom, ordered that Reeves assist in overseeing the communication systems, as he was familiar with navigating interactions in unknown circumstances. A positive first contact would be their best option, if possible. The ship finally docked at the palace spaceport, and from its sleek exterior emerged a group of beings that sent a chill through everyone who watched. They were tall, their dark uniforms adorned with sharp metallic designs, and their faces hidden beneath shadowed hoods. As Ilara, Reeves, and their council slowly made their way toward the lowering boarding platform, a sense of dread hung in the air. The beings moved with a purpose, and their eyes glinted coldly through the darkness. They spoke in a language no one understood, but the tension was clear in their swift, controlled movements. Ilara stood strong, her thoughts racing. Yet she had one advantage: the unexpected power of her bond with Reeves. He had remained calm through the tense moments. Now, being together again felt like a quiet strength, even if the future was uncertain. As she met the eyes of the alien leader, she reached for the shared understanding between herself and Reeves. He stood just behind her, ready to influence the negotiations from his place. After moments of silent exchange, it was clear that the beings had no desire for war. Their intentions were more complicated, and after some adjustments in language translation, they revealed their aim wasn't destruction, but rather cooperation. They sought an alliance with Ilara's people, hoping to share technology that could better defend against potential threats in deep space, threats that they had witnessed firsthand. Ilara and Reeves immediately saw the risks involved. While this offer might appear generous, they knew that technology had a price, and trust needed to be earned. After exchanging a series of cautious words, both the princess and the captain agreed to delay any decisions. It was important to carefully examine their options before making a monumental commitment. Strongly believing that more discussions were needed, Ilara made it clear that the conversation would continue, but the outcomes were far from certain. The two races parted with tensions still simmering. Yet, as the strange visitors left, the unity that had born from the crisis remained. By working together, sharing their perspectives, and taking care not to rush into decisions, a pathway toward resolution was forged. Later that night, under the soft lights of the palace, Ilara and Reeves sat in an empty, quiet hallway, reflecting on what had just transpired. They spoke little, but words were not necessary. They had not only survived this crisis, but they had grown stronger together. That night, both understood something important. Strength was more than just an alliance of technology, manpower, or power. It was the bond that had formed between them, and the courage they had to face the unknown. In the end, this trial had proven that unity could come even in the darkest of moments, when the unknown came knocking at the door. Together, they would stand, facing it as one. For 2 meters 5. Part 4. Trials of Unity. A dark shadow spread over the kingdom as a series of unexpected events shook the peaceful realm. The once calm skies grew cloudy, and strange disturbances were felt both in the natural world and in the hearts of the people. Princess Ilara and Captain Jonathan Reeves sensed that this was no ordinary challenge. The crisis that had come upon the land was a test of their courage and their ability to work together. News of the troubling events quickly reached the palace. Rumors spoke of unusual storms that twisted the gentle winds into fierce gusts and caused the rivers to swell unexpectedly. The people of the kingdom grew worried. Their hearts were filled with uncertainty as they looked to their leaders for guidance. In the midst of this turmoil, Ilara knew that she could not face these trials alone. She remembered the many conversations with Captain Reeves and the calm determination he had shown. Now she felt that their united strength could be the key to restoring peace. Captain Reeves, too, felt a deep sense of responsibility. He had seen storms on Earth and had faced many hardships in his travels among the stars. Yet he had never seen such a sudden change in the gentle world of Princess Ilara. He joined the discussions in the council chambers, where advisors and elders met to share their concerns. Reeves listened carefully as they described how the strange events had disrupted their farms, damaged homes, and left people fearful for their future. His heart went out to these kind people who lived simple, honest lives. Seeing the suffering around her, Princess Ilara called for a meeting with both her trusted advisors and Captain Reeves. In a spacious room filled with soft light, she spoke in a calm yet firm voice. She asked for ideas to overcome the growing crisis and to help her people. With the help of Captain Reeves, they began to form a plan. The plan was simple and clear. They would gather the best minds and the strongest hearts from both their worlds and work as one team. This team would study the strange events and find a way to restore the peace that had been lost. The new team met in the grand hall of the palace. There, under the soft glow of the morning light, people from many different backgrounds sat together. Humans, aliens, and local citizens gathered to join the effort. At first, there was some hesitation. Some did not know how to work with those who came from a faraway land or spoke in a different tongue. But soon, they listened to Captain Reeves and Princess Ilara, who reminded them that hope and kindness are feelings that everyone shares. Slowly, a sense of unity began to grow among the group. As the team set out on their mission, they soon faced many challenges. One day, a strong wind swept through a small village, overturning carts and scattering supplies. The people were frightened, and the damage was clear. Captain Reeves and his team rushed to help. They worked together to secure the houses and clear the roads. The villagers, once full of fear, now found hope in the kindness shown by the team. Even Princess Ilara joined in, offering her calm guidance as everyone labored to repair what had been broken. In another instance, the team discovered that the strange events were linked to a mysterious energy hidden deep in a nearby forest. A group of scholars, including local elders and experts from distant planets, gathered to study this energy. They worked long hours, sometimes under a sky that turned from soft gray to deep blue. Their combined efforts brought new ideas and hope. The energy was strong and unpredictable, yet the team felt that by working together and sharing their wisdom, they could learn how to control it and bring calm back to their land. The days grew longer as the team faced obstacle after obstacle. Each setback was met with determination, and each small victory was celebrated by all. Captain Reeves and Princess Ilara showed great patience, always encouraging the team to move forward. Even in moments of doubt, the leaders reminded everyone that unity and cooperation were the keys to overcoming the challenges. The spirit of togetherness grew stronger with each passing day, and the people began to see that their combined efforts were making a real difference in their lives. At the end of one long day, after the team had finished their work in a small village, Captain Reeves and Princess Ilara took a moment to rest. They climbed a gentle hill that overlooked the land they had worked so hard to protect. The sky was clear, and a soft glow lit the horizon. As they looked out over the fields, the calm that was returning to the kingdom filled their hearts. Both leaders shared a quiet smile, knowing that their united efforts were beginning to mend the wounds of the past and restore hope for the future. United in spirit and hope, they confidently embraced the future with quiet determination. Peace to the kingdom were filled with a sense of quiet triumph. The once chaotic landscapes were now calm again, and there was an air of collective relief. Yet, despite the progress, Princess Ilara and Captain Jonathan Reeves could not shake the feeling that something deeper was at work within the fabric of their world, a feeling that the recent disturbances had not been random, but perhaps part of a larger plan, a purpose tied to their newfound partnership. One clear evening, as the sun set behind distant mountains and cast long shadows across the royal gardens, Ilara met with Captain Reeves in the secluded spot where they often spoke. The stars were starting to twinkle above, and the night air was cool and refreshing. The quiet hum of the universe seemed to soothe their minds, but tonight there was an urgency to their conversation. Ilara's usually calm demeanor was replaced by a look of quiet determination. "Jonathan," she began softly, "I have something to share, something I've kept hidden for many years." Captain Reeves, sensing the gravity in her voice, gave her his full attention. Knowing her to be a person of great wisdom, He waited patiently, his heart filled with curiosity about what she might reveal. "I have long believed," she continued, "that my destiny was not only to rule this kingdom, but to play a larger role in the fate of the galaxy. There is something ancient in my people's history, a prophecy passed down through generations that foretells a great event, a time when the destiny of our people, and perhaps even the galaxy itself, will be shaped by an outsider. Someone who will come from beyond the stars. A human." Reeves' brow furrowed as he processed her words. "But I thought the disturbances and crises were just natural disasters," he asked, his voice uncertain. Ilara nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving his. "To many, they seem like random events, but to me, they feel like a call, one that must be answered. The disruption is connected to the larger purpose I'm meant to fulfill." Captain Reeves took a moment to absorb the information. His mind raced with the possibilities, all with the knowledge that he was already part of something far greater than he had imagined. "And am I the one to help you fulfill this purpose?" he asked quietly. Ilara met his gaze without hesitation. "Yes, Jonathan. Your arrival in my world was no coincidence. It has meaning. When the prophecy speaks of a human as the key to this mission, it foresees someone with a unique gift, someone whose heart is not ruled by power or wealth, but by the desire to bring people together." Reeves felt a weight settle in his chest as he realized the enormity of what Ilara was saying. What had begun as a simple exploration, a spark of curiosity, had now grown into something much more significant. His heart raced, knowing that his role would be one of an unimaginable responsibility. Ilara paused for a moment, sensing his hesitation. She spoke with a warmth and confidence that calmed his racing thoughts. "You asked how this could be. Human beings have a way of seeing the common thread that ties us all together. You value friendship, cooperation, and trust, virtues that transcend worlds and species. That is why you are the one destined to aid me. Together, we can overcome the crisis that threatens us and ensure the future of our worlds." In the soft glow of evening, as the night sky filled with stars, Jonathan's sense of awe deepened. Earth, which he had once thought of as small and insignificant, had now placed him in the heart of an ancient prophecy that could change the course of history. And at the center of this journey stood Princess Ilara, someone who had already earned his respect and admiration. "But if this is true," Jonathan said, swallowing his uncertainty, "why didn't you tell me sooner?" Ilara smiled gently, understanding his questions. "Because the path was not yet clear. The signs had not yet aligned, but now I know that we must walk this journey together, and the bond between us will guide our way. I have seen the strength in your spirit, Jonathan. I trust you." His mind was spinning with possibilities now, but a sense of clarity began to emerge as he looked into Ilara's eyes. Captain Jonathan Reeves had always believed in actions, in doing what was right, no matter how daunting the challenge. Now, as part of something much larger than himself, he knew that it was the heart that would lead them, the heart that connected both humans and aliens alike. "We will face whatever comes," he said, his voice firm with determination. "But how do we begin?" Ilara's expression softened, her uncertainty easing. "We must first understand the origin of the disturbances, the energy that is influencing our lands and the balance of life. We must determine what is stirring these cosmic forces. Then, we will gather the strongest minds across the universe, right?" Reeves asked, a small but confident smile touching his lips. "Exactly," Ilara replied, her voice steady. "Together, we will build a team of people from all realms, humans, aliens, and all those who see the value of bringing peace to our galaxy. We will use our minds, our hearts, and our collective willpower to face this threat." The vastness of their mission began to take shape in Jonathan's mind, and from that clarity, a new strength arose. He knew there was no turning back now, but there was no fear in his heart. Whatever the prophecy foretold, they would confront it together. Together, they would uncover the truth and stand as one. As the two of them stood beneath the stars, A quiet sense of unity enveloped them. The path ahead would be difficult, and uncertain steps lay ahead. But Jonathan and Ilara were certain of one thing: they did not walk it alone. Side by side, they would face the trials that lay in wait, both of them balancing equally between human courage and royal wisdom. The future, as fleeting and unpredictable as the stars above, now seemed a little less intimidating. Together, they would see it unfold. For 19 seconds. Part 5. The unveiling of a secret purpose. In the quiet hours of a cool morning, Princess Ilara felt the weight of a secret that had burdened her heart for many years. The recent trials and the spirit of unity had brought hope to her people, but a hidden truth still stirred in the depths of her mind. Captain Jonathan Reeves, who had become her trusted friend, noticed the thoughtful look in her eyes. He gently asked if something troubled her, and with a soft sigh, she invited him to walk with her along the palace gardens. They strolled slowly along a stone path lined with blooming flowers, the morning light painting the ground with gentle colors. Ilara spoke in a quiet voice, careful to choose each word as she began to share her secret. She told Reeves that her life of duty was not only about serving her people, but also about guarding an ancient promise made long ago by her ancestors. In her family, a secret prophecy had been handed down for many generations. This prophecy spoke of a time when a great challenge would come to their land, a time when danger would threaten the peace and unity they had fought so hard to build. Ilara explained that the scroll containing the prophecy was kept hidden in a secret chamber within the palace. The old scroll, written in a language that few now remembered, told a tale of a chosen one who had come from a distant world. This person, unlike the many suitors who had come with wealth and power, would be marked by a pure heart and an unyielding spirit. The prophecy said that only this chosen one could unlock a hidden power that lay dormant in the heart of the kingdom. This power, if awakened, would protect the realm and ensure the survival of her people. As she spoke, the princess's voice grew steadier. She told Reeves that her many refusals of the alien suitors were not acts of pride or stubbornness, but careful choices made to keep the promise of the prophecy. She had long felt that her destiny was intertwined with this mysterious purpose. The suitors, with all their splendor and promises, could not see the truth hidden in the ancient words. But Reeves, a man of simple origin and honest heart, was different. His presence stirred a feeling in her that perhaps he was the one spoken of in the old prophecy. Captain Reeves listened intently, his eyes wide with a mix of surprise and deep understanding. He felt honored and humbled by the trust the princess placed in him by sharing such a personal secret. Though the idea was hard to believe, he could not deny the strange sense of destiny that seemed to pull them together. The notion that a human, with all his simplicity and determination, could hold the key to such an important future for an entire people was both shocking and inspiring. They decided to go to the hidden chamber where the ancient scroll was kept. The palace guards, who were sworn to protect the secret of the prophecy, led them through winding corridors to a small, dimly lit room. In the center of the chamber lay a wooden table on which rested the old scroll, carefully rolled and tied with a faded red ribbon. The room was filled with a sense of reverence and mystery. Even the soft whisper of the wind outside seemed to echo the ancient words that awaited them. Inside the chamber, an elder scholar named Master Lorian, known for his wisdom and gentle manner, joined them. He had spent many years studying the old texts and was one of the few who could read the ancient language. With careful hands, he unrolled the scroll and began to explain its meaning. His voice was soft, yet filled with the weight of history. He told them that the prophecy described a hidden mechanism built long ago by the first rulers of the kingdom. This mechanism, lying deep within a sacred place, was meant to be activated only in a time of great need. It was written that only a person who came from a far-off star, someone not shaped by the traditions of the old ways, could see the path to its activation. The scholar's words filled the room with a mix of wonder and urgency. He explained that the human's unique perspective, his simple yet powerful way of seeing the world, was needed to unlock the secrets of this ancient device. According to the scroll, the chosen one would face tests of heart and spirit. These tests would prove that he was not bound by pride, greed, or the old ways that had long ruled the kingdom. Instead, his pure intentions and fresh ideas would light the path to a new future. As the explanation continued, Princess Ilara and Captain Reeves felt a deep sense of responsibility. Ilara recalled how, for years, she had felt torn between her duties and the quiet longing for a truth that could change everything. Now, the prophecy offered a path forward, a chance to bring lasting peace and protection to her people. Reeves, too, understood the gravity of the moment. The simple life he had known on Earth had led him to this extraordinary point, where his own heart might be the key to a hidden power that could save an entire world. A silent promise passed between them in that ancient chamber. Both knew that the days ahead would be filled with challenges and unknown dangers. Yet they also saw a hope that shone as brightly as the stars above. They agreed to seek out the sacred place where the hidden mechanism was said to rest. This journey would require courage, unity, and the willingness to embrace a destiny that was as old as time itself. With the scroll safely rolled and the words of the prophecy etched in their minds, Princess Ilara and Captain Reeves left the chamber with renewed determination. They understood that their roles had grown far beyond the simple tasks of ruling and exploring. They were now guardians of a future that promised safety and unity for all. In the quiet moments that followed, as they walked back through the palace halls, both felt the spark of a new beginning. A promise that no matter how dark the coming days might be, the light of truth and a pure heart could guide them through. Thus, with every step, the secret purpose began to shine more clearly, binding their fates together as they prepared to face the challenges that lay ahead. Princess Ilara and Captain Jonathan Reeves stood at the edge of an ancient truth, one that could change the fate of the kingdom forever. The prophecy had revealed that a hidden mechanism deep within the land held the power to protect their world, and only a human, one who was not bound by the traditions of the past, could unlock it. But as they prepared for this journey, forces beyond their control began to rise against them. Not everyone welcomed the revelation of the prophecy. In the grand halls of the palace, whispers spread among the nobles and the council members. Some believed that trusting a human with such an important task was reckless. Others feared change, holding on tightly to their old ways. Among them was Lord Varkan, a high-ranking noble who had always opposed outsiders interfering in their affairs. He had once hoped that Princess Ilara would choose a suitor from one of the noble houses, securing his influence over the throne. Now, with a human standing at her side, he saw his power slipping away. At a secret meeting, Varkan gathered a group of influential figures who shared his doubts. "How can we allow an outsider to hold the key to our kingdom's future?" he argued. "He is not one of us. He does not understand our ways." The others nodded, their expressions filled with concern. "If the princess follows this path, she may bring ruin to us all," another voice added. Determined to stop Reeves, Varkan sent spies to track his every move. He also spread rumors among the people, hoping to turn them against the human outsider. Soon, doubts began to grow in the minds of the citizens. Some feared that the prophecy was a trick, a way to replace their traditions with something unknown. Others questioned whether a human, no matter how kind or brave, could truly be the one to save them. Meanwhile, Ilara and Reeves remained unaware of the growing opposition. They focused on preparing for their journey to the sacred site where the hidden mechanism was said to rest. Master Lorien, the wise scholar who had helped translate the prophecy, guided them to old maps and texts that hinted at the location. "It lies deep within the Valley of Echoes," he said, pointing to a place on the map where few had dared to venture. "Legends say that those who enter must pass a test, one of the heart, not of strength." Reeves listened carefully, his mind turning over the challenges ahead. "If this test is about the heart," he said, "then it means we must face our fears, our doubts, and prove that we truly seek the best for this world." Ilara nodded, her eyes filled with determination. She had spent her whole life preparing for duty, But now she realized that true leadership was not just about tradition. It was about having the courage to embrace the unknown. As they made their final preparations, an unexpected event shook the palace. A group of guards, acting under Varkan's secret orders, confronted Reeves as he walked through the main courtyard. By the order of the High Council, one of them declared, "You are to be detained for questioning." The words were firm, but Reeves could see the hesitation in their eyes. They were not cruel men. They were simply following orders. Before he could respond, Princess Ilara arrived. Her voice was calm, but filled with authority. "On whose command do you detain my guest?" she demanded. The guards hesitated. They were loyal to the princess, but they also feared the power of the council. "We only follow what we are told," one of them admitted. Ilara turned to face the gathered nobles, her gaze locking onto Lord Varkan. "Fear does not lead us to wisdom," she said firmly. "It blinds us. If you are afraid of the unknown, then you do not seek to protect our people. You seek to control them." Her words echoed through the courtyard, and for a moment there was silence. Even those who had doubted her felt the power in her voice. Reeves, standing by her side, added his own words. "I did not come here to take anything from you. I came here to help, to understand, and to stand with you in facing the future." He looked at the people around him, hoping they could see the sincerity in his eyes. "The choice is yours. Will you let fear divide us, or will we walk this path together?" Slowly, the tension eased. Some of the nobles turned away, uncertain of their stance. The guards, realizing that they had been used for political games, lowered their weapons. Even among the crowd, there were murmurs of agreement. The people were beginning to see the truth. Change was not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. But Varkan was not finished. He knew that as long as Reeves remained in the kingdom, his influence would continue to fade. In the shadows, he made a final plan. If Reeves and Ilara were to reach the hidden mechanism, then he would have to stop them himself. That night, as the palace grew quiet, two figures slipped away from the city, Ilara and Reeves, heading toward the Valley of Echoes. They knew their journey would be dangerous, but they also knew that time was running out. The future of the kingdom, and perhaps the fate of an entire world, rested on what they would find in the sacred place. As the stars above watched over them, the princess and the human walked side by side, ready to face whatever lay ahead. But in the darkness, unseen eyes followed their every step, waiting for the moment to strike. The real test had only just begun. Under the pale glow of the twin moons, Princess Ilara and Captain Jonathan Reeves walked through the silent Valley of Echoes. The air was thick with mystery, and every step they took sent faint whispers through the wind, as if the valley itself was speaking to them. The hidden mechanism, the one that the prophecy spoke of, was somewhere deep within these ancient ruins, waiting to be awakened. But they were not alone. Unseen figures moved in the shadows behind them. Lord Varkan's men had followed, determined to stop them before they could reach their goal. The noblemen, refusing to accept a human's role in their future, had set a trap. The moment Ilara and Reeves crossed into the heart of the valley, a sudden rumble shook the ground. From behind the rocks, armed figures emerged, surrounding them. "Princess, step away from the outsider," Varkan's voice rang out. He stepped forward, his expression cold. "You are risking the fate of our people. Do not be blinded by the words of a stranger." Ilara's eyes hardened. "You call him a stranger, yet he is the only one who has listened, who has stood beside me when others doubted." She lifted her chin, her voice steady. "You fear change, Varkan, but fear is not the way forward. We must trust in the truth, even when it is difficult to accept." Reeves remained calm. He had seen enough battles to know when to fight and when to stand firm. He looked at Varkan's men, seeing hesitation in their eyes. "You don't have to do this," he said evenly. "We are not enemies. We all want the same thing, to protect this world." For a moment, there was silence. Then, before anyone could react, the ground beneath them trembled violently. A deep rumbling echoed through the valley as the rocks shifted and cracked. The ancient mechanism, long hidden, was awakening on its own. A massive stone door, covered in glowing runes, slowly opened at the far end of the valley. A pulse of energy filled the air, humming like a heartbeat. It was as if the valley itself had been waiting for this moment. The sudden power caused Varkin's men to falter, their weapons lowering in uncertainty. "The prophecy," one of them whispered. "It's real." Seizing the moment, Ilara and Reeves rushed forward toward the opening. Varkin, caught between disbelief and anger, hesitated before giving the order to stop them. But it was too late. The princess and the human crossed the threshold, stepping into a vast chamber filled with golden light. Inside, the room pulsed with energy. Ancient symbols covered the walls, telling a story older than the kingdom itself. At the center of the room stood a pedestal with a circular panel embedded in it, surrounded by intricate markings. It was clear this was the hidden mechanism the prophecy had spoken of. Ilara turned to Reeves, her eyes filled with certainty. "This is it. This is what my ancestors protected for generations." Reeves took a deep breath. He had no special powers, no royal blood, but somehow he knew what had to be done. Stepping forward, he placed his hand on the panel. The moment his fingers touched the surface, the entire chamber responded. A wave of energy pulsed outward, and the runes along the walls lit up, their meaning finally clear. A voice, ancient and wise, echoed through the room, not in words, but in understanding. The mechanism was not a weapon, nor was it a tool of destruction. It was a beacon, a force meant to strengthen the bond between all beings of the kingdom. It was designed to guide, to unite, and to ensure that power remained in the hands of those who led with wisdom, not fear. Outside, the ground steadied, the storm in the sky calmed, and the valley, which had long been silent, began to breathe again. The people who had doubted, who had feared change, saw the truth unfold before them. Varkin, seeing the undeniable proof before his eyes, fell to his knees in stunned silence. As the light faded, Reeves stepped back, his heart pounding. He turned to Ilara, who looked at him with something more than admiration, something deeper. He had not come to this world seeking power or glory. He had come as an explorer, a friend, and in the end, that was exactly what had saved them. Outside the chamber, the people of the kingdom gathered, whispering of the miracle they had just witnessed. The guards who had once stood against Reeves now bowed in respect. The nobles who had questioned Ilara now saw her not as a ruler bound by tradition, but as a leader willing to embrace the future. Varkin, defeated not by force but by the undeniable truth, lowered his head. "I was wrong," he admitted quietly. "Fear blinded me." Ilara stepped forward. "Fear can be overcome. What matters is what we do now." She turned to Reeves, a smile forming on her lips. "And it seems we have a new legend to add to our history." A few days later, the kingdom held a great gathering, not as a celebration of victory, but as a promise of a new beginning. Reeves was offered a place among them, a title, even a position of honor, but he declined with a humble smile. "I'm just a traveler," he said, "and there are still many stars left to explore." Ilara, however, knew that their paths were forever linked. "Wherever you go, you will always have a home here," she said softly. As Reeves prepared to leave, standing at the ramp of the Nova Dreamer, he turned one last time to see Ilara watching him. Their journey had been unexpected, filled with trials and revelations, but in the end, it had proven one thing. The universe was vast, but true connections could bridge even the greatest distances. With a final nod, he stepped aboard his ship, the engines humming to life, and as the Nova Dreamer lifted into the sky, Ilara stood with her people, watching the human who had forever changed their world disappear into the endless stars. A new dawn had arrived, not just for the kingdom, but for the entire universe. As the light faded, Reeves stepped back, his heart pounding. He turned to Ilara, who looked at him with something more than admiration, something deeper. He had not come to this world seeking power or glory. He had come as an explorer, a friend, and in the end, that was exactly what had saved them. Outside the chamber, the people of the kingdom gathered, whispering of the miracle they had just witnessed. The guards who had once stood against Reeves now bowed in respect. The nobles who had questioned Ilara now saw her not as a ruler bound by tradition, but as a leader willing to embrace the future. Varkin, defeated not by force but by the undeniable truth, lowered his head. "I was wrong," he admitted quietly. "Fear blinded me." Ilara stepped forward. "Fear can be overcome. What matters is what we do now." She turned to Reeves, a smile forming on her lips. "And it seems we have a new legend to add to our history." A few days later, the kingdom held a great gathering, not as a celebration of victory, but as a promise of a new beginning. Reeves was offered a place among them, a title, even a position of honor, but he declined with a humble smile. "I'm just a traveler," he said, "and there are still many stars left to explore." Ilara, however, knew that their paths were forever linked. "Wherever you go, you will always have a home here," she said softly. As Reeves prepared to leave, standing at the ramp of the Nova Dreamer, he turned one last time to see Ilara watching him. Their journey had been unexpected, filled with trials and revelations, but in the end, it had proven one thing: the universe was vast, but true connections could bridge even the greatest distances. With a final nod, he stepped aboard his ship, the engines humming to life, and as the Nova Dreamer lifted into the sky, Ilara stood with her people, watching the human who had forever changed their world disappear into the endless stars. A new dawn had arrived, not just for the kingdom, but for the entire universe.